All right, more simplifying expressions. I have two fractions. I want to get a common denominator. I want to add them. Most people, and there is nothing wrong with this, would multiply this by cosine over cosine, and most people would multiply this by 1 plus sine over 1 plus sine. Okay? Now, I'm going to do something different. Okay? Because I want you to start to get to think about these identities. I'm going to multiply this one by 1 minus the sine of x over 1 minus the sine of x. And you'll see why I chose that in a minute. Okay? And I'm going to multiply this by cosine of x over cosine of x. Okay? So over here, I'm going to have to distribute this cosine, and I'm going to have to distribute this cosine. And I'm not going to have a common denominator right away, but you'll see what happens. Okay? So on the top of this one, I have the cosine of x minus sine of x cosine of x. And on the bottom of this one, if I FOIL those, I end up with 1 minus sine squared of x. Well, there's that 1 minus sine squared again. It's one of our Pythagorean identities, or a form of one. 1 minus sine squared is equal to cosine squared. And so you end up using that concept of that sum and difference pattern. When I FOIL those to get this, it comes up a lot. And you can make that happen. Again, this is not the only way to do this problem. I'm just trying to show you different tricks in every single one. So 1 minus sine squared is equal to cosine squared. And if I did the same over here, I have the cosine of x plus the sine of x cosine of x over the cosine squared of x. So I do now have a common denominator, and I'll rewrite this again just because. And now look what happens. I have cosine plus cosine, which is 2 cosine of x. But then I have this negative sine cosine and this positive sine cosine. So those cancel. And I'm left with this. So just like in a problem we did earlier, one of these cancels with one of these. So I'm left with 2 over the cosine of x. And I can even go a step further, because 1 over the cosine, if I had a 1 here, 1 over the cosine is the same as secant. So now I just end up with 2 times the secant of x. So this big, ugly expression up here simplifies to this.